What is going on? Welcome back to another episode of the Podium Pushers podcast with Justin and Brandon. We are in the thick of the summer break. It is hot outside. I am ready for it to cool off. I am ready for Formula One cars to be back on track, but it is 1 week away until it is technically race week. So we are getting near the summer break. We are here to predict the second half of the 2025 season. We did this episode last year. We're bringing it back for this year. Brandon, how you feeling?
Well, the summer break isn't getting any shorter, unfortunately, so I'm not feeling great about that, but Formula One cars and fall are on the way, so I'm pumped. I'm excited to look forward to the second half of the season and talk about that today, so it's going to be great.
Yeah, the summer break, it's nearly over. We're holding on. We're making it. College football is almost back. Formula One is almost back. We're about to have an incredible fall. We've got some awesome predictions. Let's jump right into those. With our driver of the season, who do we think is going to have the best second half of the season? Maybe not the best, just a great second half of the season, if you will. I have gone for Liam Lawson as my driver of the second half of the season. He potentially had the worst start to the 2025 season as possible, looked horrendous in that Red Bull, gets demoted or promoted, depending on how you look at it, to that V-Carb. Took a couple races to find his momentum, find his footing in that team, but I think he has been one of the more underrated drivers of the last couple of rounds before the summer break. Had some really good performances, has outqualified Isaac Hadjar, scored some solid points. I would not be surprised if he ended up winning that teammate battle by the end of the year. I don't think any of us would have been surprised by that had they gone into the season as teammates. Liam Lawson is more experienced. He had a little bit more hype behind him than Isaac Hadjar did. So I think that Liam Lawson could come out on top of that teammate battle by the end of the year. I think he has momentum. I think he's back embedded in that team. I'm feeling good about the rest of the 2025 season for Liam Lawson.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll take some consistency from Liam, but he's shown that these last few rounds, and after kind of having the most chaotic start possible to the season, he seems to have found his footing. So all things look positive for Liam Lawson at the moment, but as you know, that could change any second. My driver of the season is going to be Esteban Ocon. I think Esty Bestie, as some like to call him, has had a pretty consistent season, much better than I thought he would, and I think much better than a lot of people thought he would. I feel like Ollie Behrman has kind of not quite lived up to the hype that was presented about him before the season, and Esteban's kind of taken advantage of that and solidly is winning that teammate battle, and more consistency, I think, will only help him do that.
Let it be known that when we predicted our teammate battles at the beginning of the season, the only one we disagreed on was when I predicted Esteban Ocon to beat Ollie Behrman, so I would not complain at all about Esteban Ocon having an incredible rest of the season. Haas itself has been incredibly up and down this year, but I think Esteban Ocon has done a good job of taking advantage of those races where there has been performance in that Haas. I'm sure he'll continue to do that, and I will be correct about him having a better season than Ollie Behrman. Back marker of the season, keeping it in the Red Bull family, I've gone with Yuki Tsunoda. This isn't the boldest prediction in the world because he has not been on a great run of form, but I just cannot see it getting any better for Yuki Tsunoda. We know that they're going to put all their efforts into the 2026 car, so this car is not going to fundamentally change when we get back from the summer break. I don't think anything's going to happen to suddenly give Yuki Tsunoda tons of momentum, tons of confidence in that car. You know, looking ahead to next season, is he even going to be in that seat? Is he even going to be in the sport? I don't think Yuki Tsunoda is going to be in a great mental space for the rest of the year. He's certainly not agreeing with that car. I see really no path to Yuki Tsunoda having a successful second half of the season. I could see it where, he scores 5 or 6 more points for the rest of the year.
I mean, I totally agree, and I think that it's unfortunate because, Yuki, this time last year, we were talking about, possible places, other teams that he was going to go to maybe, and now it's looking like maybe he won't have a drive at all. There's been rumors that Red Bull has decided to move on from him. Obviously, nothing's been confirmed, but it's not looking great for Yuki, which is unfortunate because I do think he is a good driver. And he's given a lot to the Red Bull team, a lot to the Red Bull family. It's unfortunate to see his career potentially end like this. My back marker of the rest of the season is going to be Alpine's second driver. Again, not the boldest prediction, but whoever that ends up being, whether it's Franco Colapinto or Paul Aaron or maybe Jack Doohan, probably not. But I mean, the Alpine car has been pretty bad, and I think that whoever is driving that car in the second seat um, just won't have any success. It's incredibly difficult car to drive, and um, we've seen crash after crash, which doesn't help with, you know, development and all that stuff. So, the more they crash, the less they'll be able to put into the car next year and this year. So,
Yeah, I mean,
uh,
it doesn't help that, we've seen Franco Colapinto struggle. He got thrown into that seat after a couple races, doesn't get preseason testing. If they try someone else, it's going to be the same rinse and repeat of they're jumping into a new car. The car is not good. They're going up against a teammate who is the clear number one driver who's been in that car for years. So whoever ends up being in that second seat, it probably will be Franco Colapinto. But with the way Alpine is ran, it's almost like a mini Red Bull. You can never count out anything when it comes to them swapping out that second driver just to see what happens. And so, yeah, I totally agree that whoever ends up in that second seat for 1, 5, or the entire rest of the season number of races, probably not going to be a great time for them. Biggest good surprise for the rest of the season. I've gone with Kimi Antonelli. Kimi Antonelli started off this season incredibly hot, and then really since Imola has had some bad luck, some mechanical retirements. He ran into Max Verstappen at Austria, and generally, except for Canada, has been pretty far off the pace of George Russell. It was almost like flipped from what it should have been. It should have been a slow start to the season, and then he should have been picking it up. But in reality, it was he had a fast start to the season and then has been trending downward. I think after the summer break, he regained some of that momentum, is more like the rookie we expected him to be. We went into the season expecting Kimi Antonelli to be the rookie of the year. I think he finishes out the season in good form, is closer to George Russell, scoring points on a consistent basis, always making Q3. I expect big things from Kimi Antonelli in the rest of the year.
I mean, that makes sense. I think we're going to a few tracks where the Mercedes is probably going to perform a lot better. So I think that'll definitely help Kimmy and George both. But yeah, I'm excited to see what he can do. My biggest good surprise for the rest of the season is going to be Carlos Sainz. This kind of seems like a bold, out of left field prediction, but because Carlos hasn't really had a great season so far, but I know that Carlos is a fantastic driver. I think he has done a lot of good at Williams, even though the results haven't necessarily come yet. And with Alex performing the way he is, I think that only pushes Carlos to perform better. He's had a little bit of time off in 14 races to get embedded into the team, get the car kind of under his feet, and I think Carlos will have a much better second half of the season.
I know we did our hot takes episode last week, but I think one of my biggest hot takes is that the gap between Carlos Sainz and Alex Albon is way overinflated. Like, yes, it is a huge points gap. I think Carlos Sainz has been the most unlucky driver this year. He's had some things that haven't gone his way that have just been absurd 2018 Daniel Ricciardo level unluckiness. He's had a couple mechanical DNFs. And then now that the midfield has recompacted and Williams has kind of lost their edge as the clear fifth fastest car, he has beaten Alex Albon sometimes, but it's been for like P13 and P16, so it doesn't matter. You don't see that on the sheet. So, I think Carlos Sainz having a great rest of the year, even if the driver standings doesn't reflect that. We know in our heart that Carlos Sainz has been having a good year. Hopefully he rebounds even more in 2026. We've made some bold predictions for the rest of the year. We have each got 2 bold predictions. My first bold prediction is that Lance Stroll finishes the season with more points than Fernando Alonso. This is a crazy prediction, but pretty much the entire year, Lance Stroll has had more points than Fernando Alonso, and they are completely tied on points right now. So I think Fernando Alonso is going to absolutely destroy Lance Stroll, have a better second half of the season for sure. But because that Aston Martin is not great and the midfield is so close, I can see a hilarious reality where Lance Stroll finishes the season with like 2 points more than Fernando Alonso just because of one crazy result.
Maybe that will be enough to lock down Lance's seat for 2026.
Lance's seat is locked down because his father owns the team. He doesn't need to beat anybody.
This is true. This is true. I was joking. My first bold prediction is that Mercedes wins multiple races before the season is over. Like I said a couple minutes ago, we are going to some tracks where Mercedes is fantastic. Cooler weather going into the fall, winter seasons. Mercedes tends to perform well at those kinds of tracks, and I think we definitely see maybe a couple race wins from George, or maybe a race win from Kimi, but I'm not gonna box myself into that one. So
Yeah, I feel like we can, based on last year, we can probably lock in the George Russell P1 Las Vegas, like signed, sealed, delivered. That's probably going to happen unless, I mean, you can never count anything out in the Vegas desert. It could be really hot, but I'm not expecting that in November. So lock that one in. You've got maybe in Abu Dhabi, maybe in Mexico. So there were a couple paths that could happen. I could see that happening. My second bold prediction is that Charles Leclerc finishes third in the driver's standings. He's about 40 points out of third place in the driver's standings right now. Max Verstappen currently occupies third. But I think that Ferrari is moving in the right direction. I think the upgrades that they brought right before the summer break, hopefully those were the last upgrades so they can start working on next year's car. I swear, if Ferrari are somehow still developing this car and they're going to fumble the bag next year, I'm going to be so angry, and it doesn't matter if I get this prediction right. But Charles Leclerc, I think he's going to finish third. I think that Red Bull and Max Verstappen, they probably are going to fall back. I think that car is screwed for the rest of the year. I do think Ferrari is slightly quicker than Mercedes, so I could see Charles Leclerc finding his way ahead of George Russell as well. So it's not guaranteed, but I see a path to it happening, and it feels just bold enough for me to put in this bold prediction section.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see that. I feel like momentum wise, I feel like that's where we're moving. And yeah, Charles is a great driver. I mean, I predicted him to win the drivers' championship this year, and technically, mathematically, I don't think he's out of it yet. So we'll have to see what happens. My second bold prediction is not that, but it's that Isaac Hadjar finishes in the top 10 of the driver standings at the end of the season. Isaac has had a great season so far, and I do think that with some more good points finishes, and maybe like a crazy Brazil situation, Isaac could sneak into the top 10. That kind of like ninth place to, I don't know, 15th in the driver standings is pretty close. So I could definitely see Isaac finishing in the top 10 with some consistency.
Yeah, I mean that's tough for me to see though. I mean I could see it based on how good of a year that he's had, but just with how close the midfield is, I think he would need a crazy result for it to happen. If he keeps racking up these P8s, P9s, I don't think that's going to be enough for him to claw into Alex Albon's or Nico Hulkenberg's point lead in that area. But if there's a crazy result, and we've seen VCAR be the team that can take advantage of some of those crazy results before, so there's a path to it. It's not guaranteed, but I could definitely see a path to it. Our one crazy wish for the rest of the 2025 season, my crazy wish is that Alex Albon finishes on the podium. Yes, that Williams is not as good as it once was. They are clearly focusing on 2026. But after all the good hard work he did at the beginning of the year, the good hard work he's done his entire career to rebuild his career after being dropped from Red Bull, Alex Albon and Williams deserve to stand on the podium together. I want to see James Vowles up there with Alex Albon getting sprayed with champagne. What a dream come true that would be. I hope to see it. I'm sure it'll happen in the future, if not this season, but my one crazy wish is that it happens in the 2025 season.
That would be absolutely fantastic. My one crazy wish is a Lewis Hamilton race win, which seems very bold. So in parentheses, next to my one crazy wish, I have put, or at least a mindset slash momentum shift. It is very sad to see Lewis talk about how he basically wants to quit and that Ferrari needs another driver. So maybe a momentum shift, maybe a podium, maybe some consistency in qualifying. That's been a big thing that I think has gotten him down. So crazy wish is a race win, but it's probably not going to happen. So
Yeah,
maybe
I mean, it hasn't been a great year from Lewis Hamilton. I saw that you did this, so I did some digging. He's behind 11-2 in the races to Charles Leclerc, 10-4 in qualifying. That is insane. Charles has 5 podiums and Lewis has none. They're fairly close in points because that Ferrari hasn't been a great car and they've thrown away some points on strategies and disqualifications. But man, I went and looked at that and I was like, oh, that is tough. That has been a rough year from Lewis Hamilton so far, and this feels like a pretty stretch of a wish for me.
Yeah, well, I mean, we said one crazy wish, so decided to throw it in there.
You know what? That's fair. My crazy wish last year was that Daniel Ricciardo would get announced for Red Bull, and he's no longer in the sport. So nothing is off the table when it comes to our crazy wish. That is all we've got for looking ahead to the rest of the 2025 Formula One season. As always, thank you for watching or listening to another episode of the Podium Pushers podcast. Before we get out of here, Brandon, what are your parting podium thoughts?
I'm excited for the second half of the season. We get to go see a Formula One race in person in October, so I am pumped for that. So all good things to come.
Yeah, can't wait for the second half of the season. Can't wait for Austin. Hopefully we see some of you lovely people in Austin. We'll be back next week to predict the Dutch Grand Prix. Formula One cars will be back on track before we know it. Before you go, be sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment, do all the things. We can't wait to see you in the next episode. But until then, have a great day and God bless.
See ya.